Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of a can. I can make it round the world with the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. The Popcorn World.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
Good morning, good morning. If you're watching us on the internet, we have a jam-packed show today. It's a lot to talk about today. So we shall waste no time with petty banter because we have things to discuss. A lot going on in the world of the ACC right now. That is Kendrick Haskins. That is the great Heisman Trophy winner. I only Heisman Trophy winner on this show. We don't have any more. This is the only one. Charlie Ward is with us this morning. So, without all of that, with that being said,
and national champion Charlie Ward. You know, we always
and he's the only one who won national champion. No one else on this show has won a national championship that I know of.
Are we gonna get the humble flex?
Won like local championships, but nothing national. So there you go.
Are we gonna get that humble flex from earlier in the week out of the way, or are we gonna save it?
So we need to discuss that. We'll save that to the end, but we definitely need to discuss that humble flex and give an official ruling on it. And we'll let you guys know what that is later on in the show. But I want to get to the news right now because there's a lot to talk about. The biggest news, the shocking news of one Tony Bennett retiring. We talked about it a little bit last week because we were coming on the air and before his actual speech last Thursday. Now that it is done and we have his reasons, I reach out to my brothers and say, what do y'all think? Because it seems to be a trend right now of guys saying this new landscape is more than I signed up for. I'm out. And a lot of veteran and dare I say legendary coaches are following this path. So I want to know from both you and Charlie, what are your thoughts as to Tony Bennett's stated reasoning as to why he is leaving the college profession? Charlie, we'll let you.
Yeah, let's Coach Junior go first.
Coach to coach.
I mean, like I said earlier when we were talking about it, I think last week, it sounded like we didn't really know until the press conference, but it sounds like it's one of those reactions to what all the other coaches that are in a certain era have decided to do.
You did predict this, Charlie. You did predict this. I want to give you your credit for that.
He just did it at a different time.
Right.
And so I think it's something, you know, when it's all said and done, would probably be a good situation for the team because they weren't going to have his full attention to the season because he had this hanging over his head. Because it sounds like it's been a minute of him thinking through this, and all of a sudden he decided that it was the best time to do it.
Not to interrupt Charlie, but he said, just to add context, he said, I started thinking about this at the end of last season and into the summer.
Right.
So
and
the timing
I
was
think,
wild.
yeah, I think he's if he's a processor, like most of us are at some point. I mean, some people are emotional and make decisions based off that, but he seems to be a processor, which I can relate to. I'm just happy he was able to follow his gut to give everybody the best, because if he's not 100% committed to what he's doing and the processes, and it's not the joy of it anymore, then I think it's best to, buy out or leave. But he's been doing it for a while.
I mean, my thing is it's just the timing. I mean, I get it. I understand that. He's got his process, and it could have gotten to a boiling point at when he decided to step down. But at the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to those kids committed to play for you. He's always seemed like a perfect gentleman. He's always seemed like a great guy. I've come across him a couple of times when he's been here for games, and he's been here recruiting. I remember he was here for Reed Shepard, recruiting him at a high school game. I remember him being there, but I just can't get with the timing. It's just really literally right before the season you decide this. I mean, I can't get with that, but I mean, more power to him, and prayers out to him that that this is the right decision for him and his family. I just feel for those players and basically the program, because I mean he's the only coach to ever win a national championship at that school, and so he's done great things for the University of Virginia. I just hate the timing of it.
I did love the timing as well. This was. I guess I'm struggling with what is it this difficult? I guess is what I'm struggling with, because we're seeing Nick Saban, we're seeing a lot of coaches. Coach Jay Wright, same thing.
Mike Krzyzewski too, yeah.
Yeah, essentially Mike Krzyzewski. You can say Mike Krzyzewski is the switch that I'm trying to understand what it is. Is it because it's a lot harder to communicate your message when you don't have the leverage of financial opportunity over the heads of the kids? I'm just trying to see what is causing such an exodus from such great coaches, because they haven't stopped it. It's not the X's and O's. The X's and O's haven't changed. The only thing that's changed is the consequence or the leverage and who holds that in their hands, so to speak.
I guess it's twofold. I mean, I really literally could see both sides of it, because it's like the situation yesterday. We haven't gotten into it. We're going to get into it later with the situation with Colin Lacey, where we're hearing from Colin Lacey's agent and not from Colin Lacey.
Right.
So, and these college coaches having to go through agents to talk to their players. At the professional level, that's common, but not at this level. And so it's an adjustment period. And
hold up. So at the professional level, the coaches don't deal with the agents
Mm,
per se. It's most times the GM.
mm,
And so in the colleges, you're starting to see some programs have a GM,
They're hiring
which that
yeah,
GMs.
is
yeah,
that
Duke, yeah.
that's the new deal now, where they have quote unquote GMs, if you don't want to call them GMs, but people who
Well,
deal
to
with
your point,
those agents.
Charlie, real quick before you finish, St. Bonaventure just hired the most famous GM in the country right now in Adrian Wojnarowski, stolen from ESPN. So you're 1,000% correct. It's there needs to be there's a buffer now that wasn't there before, which is also maybe as telling as everything else connected to this, that it's maybe harder to put your message in with consistency and impact when it's being buffered by an agent who can counter that message with alternative opportunities. I guess is the best way to say it. Because if you don't like the message of what your coach is saying, your agent can say, "Well, listen, if you don't like this, there's other options out there. You don't have to.
Right.
I can go see what else is out there for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
So it makes it very difficult.
yeah, and the landscape of college athletics is changing, drastically to a professional model.
No
I
question.
mean, we can say however we want to say it, but it's changing to a professional model. And the thing that's there are some students who are trusting people currently. I mean, I've been in this space um, just the past few months. Just there are stories out there that's not being told about agents and different people taking advantage of students.
hmm
Um, and there are legit agents, but the NCAA is working to try to give that information to the students so that they can make wise decisions, and families, because it's no different in the professional ranks. It's the same situations that they've had to deal with over the years, is making sure that your management is representing you well.
hmm
And because when you trust your management, you're trusting that they're going to have your best interests, but they're not solely speaking on your behalf. Um, and then you end up in the middle of a situation that you don't want to be in, because if you're happy at a school, and then your agent decides, well, you can get more over here, and now you're confused, you're conflicted,
hmm
because you want to be at school A regardless of what, you're getting something, but the agent is saying you can get more over here, and now you're having to make these decisions based on what who you're going to trust. And so
Yeah.
those are the situations that they have to go through. But as a coach, I asked this question: would you rather have a coach that's 50% in, or
Right.
a coach that's not there and allow someone else to run the program, even though it may be not the same? But I would rather have a coach that's not there half of the time. I mean, mentally.
Yeah.
Physically could be there, but mentally he's not putting his all into what he is. And so that's the challenge, with Coach Bennett, you know, and there's never a good time. I mean, there are times to be able to try to navigate through it if it was earlier, trying to find someone and what have you. But sometimes we say there's never a good time, to move on from something, especially something you love
Yeah.
doing, I should say.
Yeah, I just feel, like I said, my thing is still is for those players that are committed to playing there. So they get what, a 20-day window or whatever to try to
30. They get
transfer out.
30.
30 days.
Yeah.
And even with that, it's going to be hard for them because rosters are set. Rotations aren't necessarily set, but I mean, rosters are pretty much set. And so you've already given out your scholarships and everything. So basically they're stuck at Virginia if they don't really want to be there because it's always going to be a suitor for them, but like it's going to be it would be a difficult transfer for them to go into a system this late in the game and try to get playing time this year. And so, I mean, I get it that it's never a perfect time, but this is a horrible time for him to do this.
Well, and then I want to go back to something Charlie said. I think is really interesting. That Asian thing is so critical. It has become such a critical component to all of this. There's a saying: vultures pick the bones of the carcass. And when you have a kid that's desperate, like really desperate to sign a deal, that kid may not be looking at that deal from the same perspective as a regular college student is. Like in the old model, that kid saw the future and said, well, I want to play for this coach because I think this coach gives me the best path to this outcome. As far as my future is concerned, that's not the model now. The model is I can have the outcome I want right now. I can change my family. If I'm good enough, I can change my family situation right now. And so now I may not pick the best school and the best system for my skill set based on what's best for me as a player. Now I'm picking it based on what's best for my situation. And if I'm desperate and my agent knows that, like you said, Charlie, they may not represent me well because now it's a negotiation on the wrong terms of what's going on. So I get, like you said, Kendrick, I get both sides of it. It doesn't make me want to not pay the kids, but boy, it just speaks to the high level of when this was being put to the table, why didn't anybody sit down and consider all of the aspects of this? If only there was a governing body that could sit down. Never mind. Anyway, we'll get to that on another day. So that's the Tony Bennett situation. The other breaking news here is you mentioned the Colin Lacy situation. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the Grayson McCall situation, which was equally a shocker yesterday, that Grayson McCall, the quarterback for North Carolina State, retired yesterday. This is news to Kendrick.
It's news to me.
Breaking news to our brother Kendrick right now. Yes, Grayson McCall, the quarterback, the current quarterback for North Carolina State, he retired yesterday, and it was because of the concussions that he has sustained over this season. We saw him sustain one earlier in the season. I think that was against Wake Forest. It was really bad where he kind of fenced up on the field, and everybody thought he was like in real serious trouble, and he was, and then he had one last year with Coastal Carolina. So he's had a series of concussions, and he said after consulting with his family and doctors and everybody, he felt the best decision at age 23 was for him to leave this game permanently, which obviously, they were already a kind of quote-unquote struggling team. This dramatically shifts their season because he was kind of their offense, for the most part. So, and what Charlie and I were talking about prior to you getting here, Kendrick, and we'll let the audience, you guys know what we were discussing as well. The juxtaposition of this is here's this kid at 23 saying, I think I need to walk away. And then you have Tua making statements saying that I love the game and I love it to the death of me, which was a wild statement to me. I am blown away by that statement. So I turn to you guys. What are your thoughts on the McCall situation? And Charlie, I would like to ask you, in Tua's situation or in Grayson McCall's situation, young Charlie Ward, what would have been his decision?
I mean, it would have been a tough situation. But for me, I had basketball to kind of fall back on
Mhm.
as a second option. But even in basketball, it's still, if you have traumatic brain issues, it's still not a sport that is safe, you know, and from that standpoint. Um, and we we had concussions, but we just didn't know about it. I
Mm.
say we didn't know about it, but we didn't deal with it. And in this day and age, is different on how those things are handled. So, um, so for me, it would, you know, you get your information. It would be tough, a difficult decision, and I could see both sides. And as I've said before, you know, when you make decisions, you make them based on, you know, what you want to do, and then you just have to be willing to live with those consequences. And one guy has said, I'm not willing to live with them, you know, because I've had, you know, multiple concussions over my time, and one is saying I'm okay with it. You know, I'm willing to live with whatever the consequences are long term. And as we know, there are people who are making decisions every single day that they have information and they choose to do what they feel is best for them, and they have to live with whatever those consequences are, even though, you know, it's, to me, it would be tough, you know, decision to make. But when it's all said and done, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you know, are you willing to live with whatever the researchers has said?
Mhm.
If you're willing to live with that, and your wife, if you have a wife, you know, if your wife is willing to put up with it, I just hope that it doesn't turn into, you know, situations that we've seen that went undiagnosed in some form, and they become violent. They become, you know, all these other, this monster that no one
Mhm.
wants to be around. Um, but you know, I'm sure they've both gotten the same counsel. I'm sure they've gotten the same research and information, but they've chosen to do to go about it differently, make the
Yeah.
different decisions.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, crazy thing is, I had a buddy in college. He was our freshman year. We were, we had suites, and so he was my suite mate. He was like me and my roommate, a bathroom, and two more people. And he was in the other room. He was going to be the future quarterback. He was getting some playing time as a freshman as a quarterback. We already had an established quarterback who was really good, and he retired after his freshman year in college. So he
Wow.
retired. He made that decision at 18, 19 years old. And so and I think he said his older brother did the same thing. And so and he was good. He was a really good player, and he retired at a young age. So I mean, I've seen that before. Um I don't think their situation was concussion related, but I think with the concussion situation, it is scary. And when you've had to, and the thing we don't really hear about much, we hear about the concussions, but we don't really hear about what the players actually go through when they're going through concussion protocol, when they get a concussion, because it could be as simple as a headache, and it can be as extreme as they can't be enlightened. It's like a migraine situation and stuff like that. And so
Right. Right.
I can see, like, if you've been through it a couple times, and if you've had the extremes, end of it, where you were like, you know what, there's a way for me to not get concussed, and so let me get on out of this and step away, so I can understand it, and kudos to him if that's the decision that's best for him, because I mean that is a hard decision to make, especially at that age, and so and you know Tua. I mean, like Charlie said, he decided that this is what's best for him, and if his family and his wife, who's the main one who's going to have to deal with him later on in the future, if they're okay with it, then more power to them.
I'll be honest with you. I thought the statement was the first evidence that he needed to walk away from the game, because to say that's a wild statement, man. But I get it. And both of you are 1,000% correct. I get it, because young me wouldn't have walked away. I'm just being honest. There's no way I'd have walked away from an opportunity to make millions of dollars. We would have figured it out. And so I understand exactly what he's saying. I don't love the way he said it, but I definitely get why he said it and the reason why he's saying I won't walk away from it. I just don't want to me with Tua and maybe with the whole thing, we're in very uncharted waters because it feels like, oh, man, I hate to say this, and I even hate to speak it out into existence, but it feels like we're in the waters where there's no upside, only bad. I'll say it that way. And how bad can this really get? Because we don't want the worst case scenario of what this can be. And it feels like we're teetering toward that. And that's the fear I think everybody has. And that's the concern that they have for Tua and those and the Grayson McCalls of the world and so forth. Nobody wants to see the worst part of this. And here's the other side. If we ever get to that, then that's the ball game. Because if you start having multiple concussions and we see the worst side of this, that's going to be legislated into the game to the point where people are going to say, oh, if you had 3, you're out. You've had 2, you're out, whatever the number is. So that's next. And we're hesitant to do that, but I think that's where we're headed. I think that's where we're headed. So I don't know. It's a wildly uncomfortable situation. So we'll go to something slightly more pleasant. In the Colin Lacey situation, Kendrick, that was very shocking as well, and also not told correctly because it appeared that he was leaving. The way it was released, it implied that he was leaving Louisville permanently. Like it kind of felt like he was opting out and leaving the school, but that's not true.
Yeah, the way because it just originally when it was announced that Colin Lacey was pulling out of the rest of the season, it made it sound like he was just leaving, but if that's not what it was, for those who don't know, Colin Lacey's wide receiver for Louisville. He transferred in from UAB. He broke his collarbone in August, and that's according to his agent on the statement that his agent released. Again, going back to the agents, that's an 8-week healing process. Well, he came back in 5. His first game was the Notre Dame game, which was crazy because it was the first time he'd ever even had contact with us in the game. And he had a great game against Notre Dame, played well against SMU, had a 100-yard kick return for Louisville against Miami just on Saturday.
Weekend, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when they said he was going to call it quits for the rest of the season, that's all the statement was. So it made it feel, and with today's times of the way players are moving and leaving and sitting out bowl games and stuff, people just automatically assume that either he was going to transfer again or he's going to the NFL. Well, and a couple hours later, his agent released a statement saying he doesn't have full movement of his arm, so he wants to rehab and get back healthy, 100%. and he's anticipating returning to Louisville next season. And so that would have been nice to hear, like right off the jump. But
right,
because fans see that and they react instantly. They hear the news and they react instantly. But then later on, when that part of it came out, it made sense. It was hard for fans to grasp because you see him out there. I mean, he's been playing great. I mean, he's been awesome since he got out there. And so, you're like, well, why is he leaving? But when you get the full story of what's going on, it makes total sense. And because with the red shirt rules too, I think you get 4 games.
Yeah, how many games has he played?
4.
So
right at the line.
So to me, I'm reading between the lines. Like I have no. Sounds like to me, this is a ploy for a better NIL deal. 1, 2. I wonder if it was the player's decision because, or if this was the plan for him to rehab and get back his plan, I guess you say, because that's strange. Like if he came back after a collarbone issue, which people heal differently, and we've seen him play at a high level, and now he needs to rehab his arm when he was playing at a high level. Most people play through pain, like if it's not just excruciating. Well, I'll say there used to be a time where people played through pain. I'll say
There
that.
used to be a time. There you go.
Right. But in this day and age, you never know. But it's so difficult. It's so difficult to know the intention of why the statement. Well thought out. Don't get me wrong. Well thought out. Probably some truth to it. But if you probably dig a little deeper, there's some of that new age, what we're going through now with this 4-game red shirt, seeing what I can get. I mean, we just saw the guy, the quarterback at UNLV. I mean, people are doing it all the time for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to know, and it may be injury. I mean, yes, they probably do need to rehab it more. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, they probably can do it. But if the man's been out there playing and he hasn't had any setbacks and his play hadn't changed,
he's been phenomenal since he came back.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like it has to be something.
They said, of course. I mean, you're dealing with an agent, but they did say in the statement that it has nothing to do with NIL. But no.
Trust me, that means it has something to do with NIL.
I was going to say it has nothing to do with NIL until it has something to do with NIL. Like,
yes,
right. So that's an interesting philosophy, Charles. I hadn't thought about that, but that's 1,000% correct on that.
The only thing that gives me is because they said that makes me kind of believe what's going on is that they have said that their intention was to come back to Louisville, and that it was a joint decision between him and the coaching staff. That's what was in the statement. Now, we haven't heard anything from the university itself. Only thing we got from them was a confirmation that he was redshirt. Is it? They didn't even release a statement that he was leaving.
Yeah. See, there's no joint. I've heard time and time again. Whenever sometimes when decisions are made and they say it's joint, one side decided that, hey, I don't want to be a part of it. And so we make it joint because we've talked about it. We came in and shared with you what we want to do.
Right.
And that is where the joint and you say okay, because you have no power to say otherwise.
Right.
And so that's just like when people get fired, they say it was a mutual parting of the ways. Well, we talked about it.
Right.
They said, hey, it's time for you to try to find another spot. And
That's
you
it.
go and find a spot. So when the word comes out, well, it was mutual parting of the ways. Well, all that means is one person said, hey, you're not wanted here anymore, or we're going to do X, Y, Z. So you may need to find another spot.
That is a wild scenario if you are correct. And here's the reality. We're gonna know relatively soon if this is NIL related. Because as the year continues to unfold and decisions have to be made, we'll find out. Because at the end of the year, he's either gonna commit and do what he said he's gonna do and stay at Louisville and continue to do what he does, or he will suddenly get into the transfer portal and end up somewhere. How did he end up here? Well, he ended up there because since his agent is the one releasing these statements, his agent may be out shopping for a new situation. So you never know.
You never know. It's even more tough for Louisville because now you lose him, and you lost your tight end Jamari Johnson in that Miami game. He had a season-ending ankle injury in that game.
Oh wow! Did not
Yeah.
hear about that. Okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of up against it. I mean, Brooks has been amazing so far, and Amari Huggins-Bruce is slowly starting to return to what he was last season. And they do have a bunch of tight ends, but Jamari Johnson was going to be the guy. And and he was starting to really come online with their offense. He had the game-winning touchdown catch against Virginia. He had a big catch when he on the play he got injured on. And so they're kind of up against it right now at the midway point of the season, and a season that's already gone south for them for what their expectations was.
Well, speaking of the season, as we jump into our Week 8 game results, it's been an interesting one for a lot of teams, not just Louisville, and I think we're finding out who the real are. Yeah. So we may crown some people as the All ACC They Real team this week. Virginia Tech, you know, I mean, they may be better than what we all think they are. Like they're up and down, and they you know, but listen, Virginia Tech right now, as we sit in this broadcast today, they are 2-1 in the ACC, 4-3 overall. They're right there. Mm-hmm. So they're playing some quality football. They hammered Boston College. Now, a lot of that is because Thomas Cassiano, while he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, he has not got to that place where he's making a lot of plays, and he's not doing that extra thing offensively, and not just him, but their entire offense is just not doing enough, if you say it that way. Like they had 205 yards.
Not getting enough help, I don't think.
I think it's a little bit of all of it. Like because he threw for 205, I think it was. But it's a weird 205. It's like one guy caught 3 for 49, Jeremiah Franklin, then another guy caught 5 for 36. So they're not really moving the ball. It's just a weird
Deacon and Duncan.
Yeah, it's a weird offensive scheme right now, and it's not effective. And to teams that can put points up, it's not, they're getting busted up.
Bro, they haven't been a dynamic passing attack all year.
Right.
So, I mean, what you're talking about is really not earth-shattering. And so, I mean, teams have figured out that if you stop the run and keep Castellanos, in the pocket from using his legs, then they're going to struggle. I mean, that's been from the jump, and we saw that in Florida State game early on, or second game. So a lot of people didn't know their DNA, but now people have film on them. Where it was Florida State's second game, but it was their first game. So under the new regime. So now people have film on them. It's a lot easier to see their tendencies and what they're doing. And it's evident. But Virginia Tech, I mean, we always thought they were going to be good. And they showed that in the Miami game. It showed up in the Miami game. And now they've carried that loss, which was a tough loss, over for the rest of the season. And if they can find a way to get in some way, they would be a tough out as well.
100%.
Just because of the quarterback and what they have weapons offensively, and their defense is solid as well.
Yeah, I don't think Miami wants to see them again if they can find a way into the ACC championship. I don't think Miami wants to see them again.
By the way, there are 2 backs that I've watched this year that I say, that kid's going to play on Sunday, and he's probably going to play well. The Giante kid from Boise State and Bashul Tootin. Bashul Tootin is for real. Like, he is for real. 18 carries for 266.
It's a pretty good day.
That's a good day. 3 touchdowns. That's a good day. You've had a
18
good
for
day.
266.
But
That's
266 is what he ran for. He
insane.
is literally putting them on the team on his back and carrying.
That's what 12 yards a carry, something like that.
That means every time he touches the ball, he's a
getting a
first
first
down
down.
or more. 2, 3
That's
first downs at the same time.
crazy.
Goodness gracious. I'd love to hear Charlie Ward talk about this. Florida State, Duke. Duke won the game. We know that. Do you feel like your Seminoles are trending in the right direction?
No way.
Yeah, I mean, people. I mean, you have to be realistic on where you are and all those types of things. I think sometimes we get so caught up with the outcome and don't look at, what transpired and the team's makeup and the whole nine. So, of course, Duke is not, they're not one of the top tier teams, even though their record is 5 or
They're
6-1,
6-1. Yeah.
whatever it is.
Record's top
Yeah.
tier. Yeah.
Right.
But they're not top tier. Like, you wouldn't put them in the same boat as even if Virginia Tech, Miami, and Clemson, some of the top tier teams that we're seeing in ACC. Just not because of just the records, because of who they kind of literally played. But when you have three turnovers like in 3 plays in your end, and you still have an opportunity to win, at some point, I mean, it's a 7-8 point game, whatever it is. To me, that's a good sign. Like, they didn't give in, because they could have easily given in time and time again, especially afterwards. They're just right now, they don't have, to me, they don't have the playmaking from an offensive standpoint to be able to get things done. Like, people aren't making outstanding plays. They're making the routine plays, but they haven't had someone or a couple guys make, outstanding plays to bail them out, like a Cam Ward. He's bailed Miami out time and time again. I mean, guys are getting open, but he's also bailed them out with just extreme playmaking. We haven't had that from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, you can win giving up 23 points, but you can't win scoring 16 points, 19 points, 14 points. That is just hard to do. And so I am sure they are trying to figure out how they can find more explosive plays. And then when they do have the explosive plays, they drop the pass or something goes awry to where they can't complete the explosive play when the ball goes down the field. But we haven't had that breakaway run either, where a guy makes a guy miss and then he takes it to the house, or whatever the case may be, or long runs. We've had that on occasion, but not enough. So it's one of those deals where people are calling and trying to figure out, like, the coach and the buyout. And I'm like, man, we come down this road before, and we found a coach that has at least given us some hope that the program can thrive. And I don't think, administration is going to bite in on the buyout and all that. But I just, as you all know, I mean, stability is to me, if you have someone that can lead and develop, you're going to have seasons where you may not play your best, and you may have injuries, and you may end up playing with young players. And if you do that, you're going to struggle. And that's kind of where we are. We're playing with a lot of young players, inexperienced players. And then people are pointing to the transfer portal like that was the big issue. Well, just to say, The team that was 13-0 last year had transfers on it. Those transfers were at least 1 or 2 years in their program, in the system. And then we also had guys who have been in the system for at least 3 years that were that were here, for 3 years. And so all those guys came back on this one team, and the and the record reflected it, because you had a lot of veteran guys. This year's team, we returned some guys, but at that point, a lot of them were either backups and that were going to be starters, and they didn't have the experience that we had in certain positions. And then the guys who are returning, they really hadn't stepped up when it comes down to their production. Like our defensive ends, our defensive tackles, they're starting to play better now. But I also said, Duke offense had 187 yards total offense.
Total. Right.
Yeah, you're supposed to win that game.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. Like we're sitting here saying, well, they're bad and what have. They're supposed to win the game if you give up 187 total offense. I mean, that is, to me.
Yeah, you can't criticize the defense that much.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you held them to 23 points. Like Charlie said, 23 points is a winnable game.
Yeah.
You got to score more than 16 with the athletes that they have out there on the field. You have to score more than 16 points. And
Charlie, to your point as well, Florida State has only cracked the 20 mark once this season. That was the opening game against Georgia Tech.
So it's hard to win.
Yeah, it's hard to win any game if you can't crack 20 points. You got to give your defense something. Unless your defense is the 2000 Ravens, or even the 2000 Miami Hurricanes, right? You're gonna need some help, man. You're gonna need some help. So I'm not gonna put that up.
I would just if we didn't give them short fields, I don't think they would have scored.
I think you're 100% correct.
As many points.
Yeah.
Because
so they don't have a good offense.
3 field goals.
Yeah. They don't have a good offense. Let's be clear. Duke's offense is not great at all. Malik Murphy, I think he threw for like 12 for 24 for like 70 yards. It's not good. It's not good. But they did enough to win the game. And that's what they've done every week. So
you play to win the game.
Play to win the game. So as bad as Duke has played, their coach is probably sitting in prime position for coach of the year. As bad as they play. So anyway, what can you say about this game? First of all, it was a fantastic game from an offensive perspective.
It was a great game.
Everything you thought it was
very entertaining game.
Yes, it was. And it really literally almost basically came down to who's going to have the ball last and who can make the most plays. And yes, you can argue that Louisville did get a very disfavorable call. Two very disfavorable calls in this game that had a tremendous impact on the game. But when you give up 52 points, it's hard to blame it all on that. So, your thoughts, gentlemen, on the Miami-Louisville game, which was one of the more entertaining games of this weekend?
The fumble, the Cam Ward fumble that was ruled an incomplete pass, even though we saw the exact same play later on that night in the Texas game. Yeah. And it was ruled
literally the exact same play. Yeah.
But I mean, that could go either way. You see that going either way all the time. That's neither either, even though that was scooped and scored for Louisville and would have tied the game. The one that irritates me the most was the blatant hold on Ashton Gelati in open field, ref standing right there, and the guy literally just grabs Gelati by the shoulder pads.
I said it in real time. I watched. We were watching it in real time. It's always hold it.
Yeah.
That's a hold.
And not only do they
Bring that
not
back.
they don't call it. Gelati doesn't end up. He gets to Ward, but Ward already releases the pass, and it goes for like 50 or 60 yards down the field for a first down. And so, and they'll think that was 3rd and long too.
That was 3rd and long. That was
yeah. And so that's the one that irritates me. The fumble, you know, like I said, that's a judgment call. Could go either way. You see it go either way all the time. But that blatant hold, that's the one that sticks in my craw. That being said, though, because like I think Miami scored like a play later after that hold, but it was not that play. Your defense has another chance to make the stop to hold them from getting in the end zone. Yeah. Then after the fumble, non-fumble, whatever, you still had time to make a stop, make a play, and Miami ends up dragging the whole Louisville defense into the end zone from 20 yards out.
That was insane.
So while those calls or non-calls went against Louisville, they had their opportunities to make up for it, and they did not. They did not convert on the defensive side. The offense was phenomenal. Shuck was amazing. Shuck is so good. He's not getting the publicity he probably should because they've lost these 3 games, but Shuck has been really, really good for Louisville. The offense looks great, and the defense is a surprise that they have struggled as much as they have, considering the talent they have coming back. And Ron English has had success at Louisville before when he was here with Charlie Strong. Yeah. The defense has got to make the stops when they have the opportunity to make the stops. And it was another time in the game when Miami had 3rd and 20 and Ward takes off and picks up the first down on the ground. Yeah, you can't have that happen. And so while a lot of the fans are going to complain about the officiating, and they were complaining. If you look at Twitter, the defense had opportunities to get off the field and they didn't do it.
And you look at and let's also be fair. The rushing this weekend wasn't what it has been. Isaac Brown, it was clear Miami said we've got to contain this kid, and so they threw some in the box looks that maybe Louisville wasn't quite ready for, and Isaac Brown did not find the space, even though he scored. He didn't find the space that he normally finds in a game. Had the one long run for 43 yards, and I think that was a touchdown. I think he scored on that one. But the whole day was 9 for 56. So they did their job as far as stopping the run. But
some of that was Louisville too, because if you really look at Brahms' offense, that looked more like Brahms' offenses than them.
He kind of abandoned it. He kind of abandoned it a little bit and let Shuck do what he could do. And by the way, he played well. To your point, he played extremely well. So very interesting game. Louisville probably, barring some major collapses that we don't even see coming, probably played themselves out of any chance to get to an ACC championship game because it's too many tiebreakers that they would have to overcome, and a lot would have to go wrong for them to have a chance.
And they have to win out.
but like you said earlier, Charlie, shout out to Cam Ward, who is single-handedly saving Miami. I really don't know how good Miami is. I know that he's good. He is
Restrepo's good. Restrepo's really good. I'm a big fan of Restrepo.
The receiver, yeah. He had a good day. I think he had 100 yards. But I know Cam Ward is very, very good, and he is saving them week in and week out. Now, I don't know if this is a formula that can carry you the distance of the season beyond the ACC championship and into a playoff championship. I don't know if it's that, but for now, it's working. So there you go. Virginia and Clemson. This one was a lot tougher. And we said that it would be, although none of us picked Virginia. But this one was a lot tougher than Clemson probably anticipated it would be, especially I think in the first half. But Clemson figured it out, and they did Clemson type things toward the end of the game. The one thing about Virginia is they just don't they don't have an offense that can sustain what they do. And with all due respect to Calandria, he's just not there yet. And they don't have a running game. So you don't have a great passer and you don't have a running game. That's usually that's the Boston College formula. So
but they did put up 31 points against the Clemson.
They somehow put up 31 points. They did.
Some of that was late.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think they scored 21 in the fourth quarter, I believe it was.
Right.
Yeah. So wasn't the greatest.
Dogs.
Yeah, when they call off the Dogs, yeah, it wasn't great. Again, shout out to UConn for helping ACC teams pad their win total. UConn has gotten more teams into bowl games for the ACC than any other team.
They made it tough on Wake Forest.
They did. UConn is actually starting to become competitive, which is weird,
Well, when you play the same conference all the time, you get to know
the tendencies. We had a group chat text this Friday night when we got the word that Haynes King would not be playing, and I graciously said to my brothers, if y'all want to make a switch on this pick, go right ahead. I thought we had all picked Notre Dame, but I hadn't looked at it. But when I saw the news that Haynes King wasn't playing, we knew this one was over from the start, and it was. Notre Dame basically handled Georgia Tech easily, so no surprises there. I don't know how, and I'll be honest, I watched this game, but I didn't keep a close eye on it until the end when I started seeing, like, wait a minute, North Carolina State has a chance to win this thing. And then I went back over and saw them win, and I was like, this is shocking. So California is basically having the season because they don't have an ACC win. Mm-hmm. They are 0-4 right now. And you could argue they were in every single game.
Yeah.
So they've been in every one of them. Yeah.
I'm not sure why it's not going well, but it's not going well. They lost every game in the ACC that they played, and they took Miami to the limit.
They should have won that game too.
Yeah. You got 35-10 in the third quarter. You're supposed to win.
For as well as they're playing, I'm not sure why they're not closing. That's the weird part about what California is doing because they're getting off to decent start. They just can't close.
I mean, it's hard to put your finger on it, but
yeah,
I think offensively they get to a point where people either figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they can't score late.
Mm-hmm.
And then defensively, once you start getting 3 and outs or, teams start getting more opportunities, you start to wear down because I think their defense is solid. And they just seem to have that bug where they find a way to lose games.
Yeah. It's growing pains.
But they're right there.
They're right there?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like Louisville. They're right there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just they
3-1 score losses to ranked opponents, but
yeah. Tough. And then I want to quote the great Charlie Ward. I think you said this in the group chat. SMU is for real.
Yes.
They are for real.
That quarterback they have, Jennings, is to me
he's something else.
He is not talked about enough. Like I saw him play several times and he's been the same way every single game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, he's one of the top tier quarterbacks that no one's really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He can run. He's accurate.
Yeah.
He hit his targets. He makes good decisions. And so I think they're going to be a hard out, whoever they play.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction right now about SMU based on what we've already seen. They have Duke, Pitt, BC, Virginia, and Cal left. I think they're going undefeated. I don't think they're going to lose a game.
Where are they playing Pitt?
Pitt is at home.
Oh,
That's why I said. That's why I said what I said. Because if they had been at Pitt, I would say they'd lose that one. But they're playing Pitt.
But they've shown they can win on the road too. Yeah.
Right. It's not that they can't win at Pitt, but I'm saying we all know how hard it is to win on that. Yeah.
Quagmire.
Right. But I think they're going to go undefeated. We may be looking at a situation where it's SMU versus either Miami or Clemson. Because I think SMU's schedule sets up for them to go finish this season undefeated.
So what
Which
happens?
Is wild to think about.
What happens there if all three of them are undefeated? The tiebreaker is going to be. It's got to. I guess would be strength of schedule and
probably ranking.
Well, here's the thing.
That's what will kill SMU then, because Miami and Clemson, if they're both undefeated, are going to be ranked ahead of SMU.
But okay, which I would argue, and I would make the case that Charlie is making to AP and coach voters. Watch the game. Jennings is for real. So here's what we can go through as we go through our for real, all first team for real right now. I think Holstein is for real. Eli Holstein is for real. Cam Ward is for real. And I think Klubnik is. I will acquiesce because of the record. I will acquiesce because of the record. I will acquiesce.
He's been great all year.
I will acquiesce because of the record. I don't know how it really is.
Minus the Georgia game.
Right.
But there's not one person in these boxes that would take Klubnik in a draft. Not one.
At this point, I'm
okay. So how real
you should at this point?
No. Because to me, Klubnik would be worse than what we already got. Not much worse,
really?
but not much worse, but worse. Yeah, because I see things in this game that I don't like that are very similar to the guy we already got.
I'm gonna say you've been watching the guy you got for 4 years.
But I'm saying the stuff that I'm seeing in Klubnik is very similar to the guy I got right now. But Jennings, oh my God, bring that kid tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Jennings should be in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah.
I think he should be in the Heisman conversation. Now, what they have to do to move up in the rankings, I think, is they've got to dominate these next 5 games. Leave zero doubt in the minds of anybody that they are more than deserving and challenge. Because I got to ask you guys this question. Who's playing better right now, SMU or Miami?
SMU.
SMU is.
That's what I'm saying.
As a team,
that's what I'm saying. Now, Cam Ward, you can make a case that he's obviously outplaying Jennings, but not for the reasons that you think. It's because he's bringing – right, it's not because he's playing better. He's just winning games that you should be losing.
The Jennings numbers from a efficient standpoint is probably going to be better than Cam Ward's. I mean, Cam has great numbers, but I don't know what Jennings' touchdown to interception ratio is, but I know he's been efficient.
He's been incredibly efficient. I think they got to go undefeated. That's number one, and I think they got to dominate. And by the way, all 5 of these teams, the only team that might make you go, I don't know if they can dominate them, is maybe Cal's defense. Because of Cal's defense, that might be the team where they may go, it may be closer than you think it might be, but they can win. They can win every one of those games. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting end to this season for SMU. But 100% they are for real.
I'm looking up.
Where are they in the AP poll right now? SMU.
They're 21. They're 22. I'm sorry. They're 22.
and they have their one losses to BYU.
which is a good loss. Right now, that's a good loss.
Where's BYU in the ranking?
They are. Are they ranked right now? I think they are ranked. I got to let me pull it up.
They
real
should
quick.
be, unless they lost.
It's the only undefeated Big 12 team, right?
Have they lost?
Oh,
They
BYU
lost?
is 11th. They're 11th. They're 11th.
So this is what I'm going to say because you know the CFP is getting ready to come out
drop
with their rankings.
Yeah.
At some point here, I don't know when, but soon. I just believe that there's going to be some teams that may be in the AP 20s that may drop to
Great point.
teams when the CFP rankings come out, be based on where they are now. And that's
BYU could definitely be that team, Charlie, for sure.
So as we've said before, there are teams that get ranked and some stay, some go. But the ones who weren't ranked and they're having good years because they're beating teams that may be ranked a little higher, lower, and they're not getting that credit, or they're playing well and they don't get credit because they were outside. And so now they're 20s, high 20s, high teams, and they never get a chance to move up because they may not be playing ranked teams because they started outside of the top 25.
To your point, Charlie, I think that's Indiana. I think that's Iowa State. I think that's BYU. I think most of the Big 12 might have that problem because they got a weird look going on right now where we don't really know how good the Big 12 really is.
And so Indiana's going to get their boost because they're in the Big 10.
Yeah.
So they're going to be fine.
So, yeah, but like Indiana.
But schedule-wise, who will they play?
Yeah.
Nobody except Nebraska.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So in the SEC, in the Big 10, they get to move up because they are playing teams that are ranked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just the deal. And so when you're playing teams that are consistently ranked, even though they may be middle tier of the Big 10 or the SEC, they may be 15 or they may be 7 or 8, whatever it may be, and you beat that team, then you get an opportunity to have a quote unquote great win. But the Ole Miss, for instance, I think they're like 15 or 18, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they started out in the top 5 or top 10, whatever it was at the time. And so at that time, if you beat them, that was a top 10 win. But
because when Kentucky beat them, they was number 5.
Well, to that same credit, Alabama. They should not be anywhere near the top 15 or top 20 now, but they will be. They will be just on reputation alone.
They should be top 15. They still beat Georgia. They still won that game.
By the way, they haven't lost any game by blowout. So I get what you're saying, but there's only 2-loss team that we're going to celebrate like that.
But in Alabama's defense, as much as I hate that you have me defending Alabama, they have 2 losses, but like they've lost 2 games to top 10 teams. Their schedule has been.
I agree.
Yeah.
Their schedule's been tougher than most teams too.
Yeah,
it has been. No, it absolutely has been. It has been.
They haven't had a cakewalk.
No.
And I believe games. Speaking of Alabama, we lost a very tough game to Tennessee. And by the way, shout out to Tennessee on the bounce back.
They actually won a big game for once.
Won a big game for once, and got that one done. And then this one was not close at all, which was a shocker because everybody really thought this would be a very difficult game for Georgia, and it was not. Georgia was far and away the better team on the field against Texas.
I was stunned by that.
Huh?
I was stunned by that.
I was very shocked by that one too. I thought they would be way more competitive than this, and
'Cause I knew they hadn't played anybody, but I didn't think it was would be that glaring.
I think the
30
gap
to
would be
15
that
is not
big,
even 30 to 15 is not indicative of how dominant that game was.
Not at all. Not at all. And then this was a phenomenal game from
That
start.
was a street fight.
Yeah.
Look, the game that was a fight.
Hearns, like they just throwing haymakers at each other the whole game. And shout out to the Lions for bouncing back after the Aiden Hutchinson injury and kind of putting that aside and saying, let's go get this. We can still that's a quality win in division. And then this was a weird game. This is a weird game because the Ravens dominated this game completely. And then it got weird at the end. By the way, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be popular preaching, but I just feel this way. I'm so frustrated with Todd Bowles for this one because to me, there's a thin line between competitive, building your confidence in your team stuff, and putting your people in harm's way for no reason. And you'd already lost Mike Evans. I don't understand what the purpose of them trying to play to the zeros was in this game. And now you've lost Chris Godwin, maybe forever, because he's a free agent after this season. This may be the last time you see Chris Godwin in a Buccaneers uniform. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that at all.
I mean, it is a 10-point game. I mean,
no, don't do that.
It's a 10-point game.
It became a 10-point game. But
with
5 minutes ago, you don't have 21-point strategies like that. They were down by 21.
But like when he got hurt, it was a 10-point game.
Yeah.
okay, but you're leaving one important part of that context out. It was a 10-point game with like a minute and 30 seconds left to go, and they were driving down the field, so they still had to get the 7 and the 3 in a minute 21.
We've seen
it's not going to happen.
We've seen crazier stuff than that happen.
Right. We don't like. I understand everyone. I understand your point. If it's a 20-point game, then with a minute and some change, and he's still in the game, I can understand. But with 10 points in a minute and some change, there are a lot of different scenarios and things that can happen. Because if it's 10 points and you get to a point where you can kick a field goal first and then try to get an offside kick, then that's what you do.
Which, by the way, they did get one.
So again.
They did get one onside kick.
So I mean, I don't know what it's a hard call because your fear as a coach is what actually happened, which is you don't want the guy to get hurt at any point. However, if you feel like if it's a game that's close and winnable, you want to keep your guys in there so they can, give you the best chance to win. But the worst case happened.
Right. And I say it's a 10-point game. I can't fault them for still being in the game.
I wouldn't have done it. Not that. I want to say I said 5 minutes, but I don't want to say 3 minutes to go. It was like they were down 17 or 21 or some crazy number. And it was
which proves the point even more. If they were down by that much and they've already brought it back to 10, you keep going.
Yes,
because Baker Mayfield was still in the game.
All right.
I think they just cost themselves the season.
I mean, I agree in some form. However, as a coach and as a competitor, you can't be sitting on the sideline when it's a winnable, what you consider a winnable game. If you start putting the numbers together, you kick a field goal early, try to get an offside kick, and then it doesn't work. Then that's something totally different. But If you kick a field goal and then get an offside kick, you have a chance to tie the game. But I mean, I understand. I mean, the Ravens took out their players. They didn't put them in, but the game was pretty much over at that point for them.
Yeah, that right, because they had put their backup in at like 4 or 5 minutes. They had put their backup. I don't know. That's a tough situation, but I digress. That just bothered me.
Who called that game? Who
that was Troy. Game? Troy and Joe.
No, I'm talking about who chose or who picked the Ravens.
This is Charlie. You're already on the verge of a humble flex. I don't know if you want to keep.
You got one still simmering from earlier in the week.
I was still saying, you're already on the verge of a humble flex. I don't know if you.
I'm asking.
He's just like right here.
Right. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. But yes, it was you, Charlie Ward.
I was
actually just about to say.
I didn't know. I didn't. I forgot who I chosen.
You chose that one, which, by the way,
we've already shown all the I Believe games, and this is the one you was questioning who picked it.
Well, by the way, we all went 500. We all went 500 this week in our picks.
It was a tough week.
It was a tough week, but that one game put you over the top, Charlie. So that brought you to 51-11, and so it was a good week overall for you because you got the one extra win there. So, all right, let's jump into these week 9s because we got some interesting ones starting tonight. Syracuse and Pitt, McCord versus Holstein.
This is a good game.
This is a good game. We wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the season, but this is a really good game. This might be a little bit of must-watch tonight.
What is the weather like?
That's a great point because, Pitt can be nasty this time of season.
Anytime of season. That field can be a disaster.
That's what I'll say. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter the weather.
There's the slightest bit of wind.
67, I'm looking at.
Oh.
60. So it should be nice. I don't see any rain in the forecast.
The slightest bit of wind coming off that river is going to wreak havoc on kicking.
Yeah,
yeah. It did the other night.
Right.
That was wild. Ball everywhere. Well, what are we doing, Jimmy? Who are you going with in this one?
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. Because they've shown
Syracuse.
They've shown they can win away from the carrier dome, whatever that dome's called now. And so I'm gonna go Syracuse. I'm probably gonna regret it, but I'm gonna go Syracuse in the upset just because I like the quarterback.
Kyle McCord.
Yeah,
Charlie, what are you doing?
It's a tough call as well.
Pitt is a 5-point underdog.
Pitt's an underdog?
Pitt's given 5.
Really?
Yes.
I thought I was going out on a limb. Well, apparently I wasn't.
I'm going to go
at
Syracuse
home
as well.
You going Syracuse as well?
Yes.
Can't believe that Syracuse is a 5-point favorite on.
That's crazy, right? Oh man, I think I'm going Pitt. I can't imagine Pitt losing this game at home.
No, Pitt's the 5-point favorite.
Is Pitt already the favorite?
Yeah, I didn't think there was any way that Pitt would be an underdog at home.
I may have read it wrong. I think I'm going Pitt. I just can't see Pitt losing at home under any circumstance. This is the kind of game they live for.
I mean, on paper, this would be more entertaining than the NFL game tonight.
Who's playing in the NFL?
Minnesota at the Rams.
Right. Yeah.
Boy, that 4 o'clock slate last Sunday. Woof.
Yeah,
It was bad.
That was rough. That was a long trek to the 7 o'clock game for sure. It was like, or 8 o'clock game for you guys. But yeah, it was rough. Louisville gets the Friday night game. Louisville versus Boston College.
With all the turmoil going on, I think Louisville will still be okay in that game.
Yeah.
Well, they still have their offense, so
Right.
and that's been carrying them for quite some time, and I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Louisville.
But I predict a sloppy game. 49 and raining is the forecast. Sloppy game, but Louisville will figure out a way to get it done.
They've played in it before. That's pretty much what it was in Notre Dame.
Yeah, they played it before, so they should be fine. Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech, and I'm hearing still no Haynes King.
That means I'm still picking Virginia Tech.
Right. Even if Haynes King was playing, I was picking. Virginia Tech.
I'm with you, Charles.
For some people, that makes a difference. I don't know, but I think that's an easy pick. North Carolina and Virginia will open the noon games.
I can't pick Carolina in any game.
I'm going with North. I'm going with Virginia.
Yeah, I can't pick Carolina in any game.
Virginia, they're a team they play well. I mean, I thought they competed well last week against Clemson after they were down. They didn't give up, so I can see them.
They've played well, even in their losses. They play well because they've been playing well against, on paper, teams that should be better than them anyway. And they've been right there. I mean, they was right there against Clemson. They was right there against Louisville. So, yeah, but I'll give Virginia. And plus, Carolina can't stop anything.
If you want to fix all of your offensive woes, as schedule 2 teams, Connecticut and North Carolina. You can fix everything.
Well, Wake Forest only scored 23 against Connecticut. So
yeah, they weren't scoring that. Wake Forest isn't scoring that. Wake Forest and Stanford. This is going to be brutal to watch.
Wake Forest on the road again?
Yeah, they're on the road again. On the road again.
They need to play this game only on the radio.
Bad.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
I'm going with Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Wake Forest. We all begrudgingly pick Wake Forest.
This is not one I can safely say this is not one I'm tuning into. All due respect,
maybe a close game.
It probably will be. It probably actually will turn out to be a pretty good game.
Let's not say good. Let's not say good.
Well, it'll be close. It'll be close, but it'll be like 17-15 or something like that.
7-3 is close. Don't mean it's good.
Right. I agree. Oregon State and California. I don't know.
Oregon State's, because Oregon State's had their moments when they've looked really good.
Oregon State can score. They put up.
And California's offense is super inconsistent.
Oregon State is basically losing shootouts this season.
Yeah, I'm looking up Oregon State. ESPN's website drives me crazy.
Oregon State lost to Oregon 49-14. That's the biggest loss they had. But, I mean, everything else, they've been somewhat competitive. Like 38 to beat Purdue 38-21, Colorado State 39-31, lost to Nevada 42-37, lost to UNLV 33-25. So they can score. They just can't stop anybody, it looks like.
Yeah, the defense is sometimes is optional.
But that's not Cal's calling card either.
Right. This is not a great game for Cal more than it is for Oregon State.
Yeah, I'm going to go Oregon State because I think they can't put up enough points to win.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I feel like Cal, and then this is the week they'll put it together and we'll all, take the L on.
we all
Well, I
get
know,
it wrong.
Charlie, who are you picking on this one?
It's fine
I'm
if
gonna
we
go
all
with
get it wrong.
I'm gonna go with Cal.
Okay. Charlie's trying to put some faith in the Bears. All right. And then let's see, we got two more. Florida State and Miami.
I would love to see the upset. But I
You
don't
know
know
what,
if we
Charlie?
have
I
enough.
think Florida
I don't
State
know.
will play their best game of the season on Saturday.
Yeah, but I don't know if we have enough offense.
No, they're not, and they're still going to lose, but they're just going to make their best game of the season.
Charlie, I won't make you speak it out loud. I'll just go ahead and write it down for you. Who you think is going to win? But I won't, because there are so many Florida State fans that watch this. I won't make you speak it out loud because I know that's blasphemy for you to say that out of your mouth. But I'll just quietly write it down and we'll move on. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think we have enough offense to win.
That's all you need to say. Don't say any more than that, Charlie. Okay, here we go. Listen, this is a no-brainer for me.
It's the prove it game for Duke.
Oh, yeah. If Duke is what they say they are, then they ought to be, which I don't believe they are. So I think
I think that Duke is optimistic when it comes to their defense. They create turnovers, you know.
Yeah.
But SMU is different. Like they don't have like these issues that people show up, and I just don't think Duke has enough offense. I mean, Duke's offense was not good like the other night, as we talked about, and they're 6-1. I think not by default, but they won the games. But I don't think they're a great 6-1 team.
Yeah. No, they're a scheduled 6-1 team.
Yeah, right.
Good scheduling by them.
I'm sure we're all going SMU. I'll just say this as a final commentary to this. My girls and I have discovered a show on Fox called The Floor. It's a game show. If you like game shows, it's a fantastic game show. Very entertaining. And you pick a category that you're an expert in, or you inherit a category, and you have to defend that category head-to-head against another competitor in 45 seconds. You have to answer more questions than the other. Last night, a 60-year-old white woman had to out-answer another 25-year-old white man on wrestling. And I turned to my girls and I said, she has no shot. That's how I feel about SMU Duke. And by the way, she had no shot. She knew one wrestler, and that was it. So there you go. In the I Believe games this week, we have 5 games to choose from this week. Your choices are Notre Dame and Navy, which no one thought this would be a phenomenal game at the beginning of the season.
Notre Dame all of a sudden has 2 ranked opponents left on their schedule.
By the way,
Army
and Navy. And Navy looks fantastic. By the way, game of the year might be Army Navy this year.
And
it's shaping up to be Army Navy.
They'll play each other again in like the following week if everything
holds up. I know that would be crazy. but Navy looks fantastic, and this is not a gimme. This is not the gimme that Notre Dame thought it would be. So that's the game. Texas Vanderbilt suddenly looks interesting because this is at Vanderbilt and it's got them old feelings.
I love seeing that 25. I love seeing that 25 next to Vanderbilt.
Isn't that something? And then you got Illinois, Oregon, which Illinois has a lot to prove in this one because everybody's been quietly talking about them and how quote unquote good they are. Well, no better way to prove it is than beating the number 1 team in the nation, but you got to go there and do it.
You got to do it at their place.
And then the 2 NFL games, Eagles, Bengals. I call this the game of desperation because both teams got to have this one. And then for kicks and giggles, I put your Cowboys in there because I think they need this one bad. Just to prove to themselves that they can beat the 49ers, period.
If they can't beat this 49ers team, then it's not going to happen.
That's the reason why I put on there. Surely, with no Brandon Ayuk, with no Christian McCaffrey, with no Debo Samuel, surely you can beat this.
Number 15's out too, right? Jennings.
I'm not even sure Jennings is even playing.
I think
Juan
he's out
Jennings
too.
is even playing.
I think he's out too.
Surely the Cowboys can win this game.
I have
surely.
zero faith. I have zero faith, and I'm staying away from this game.
You're staying away from this one?
I'm not touching it.
Wow. That's wow.
I am a man of my word. I told Dusty, my coworker, never bet Dallas games ever, because you never know which Cowboy team's going to show.
I was looking at it. I'm like, surely, because I've been hearing everybody all week. Dallas can't do that. There's a lot they can't do. That is true. But surely, if ever there was a time they were going to beat the 49ers, this has got to be the time. Because if you don't beat them because let me just say this. If they don't beat them this week with these deficiencies, it's going to be a long week for the Cowboys.
As a long-suffering Cowboys fan, this is the exact game that Dallas loses. Because they're supposed to win.
I'm very tempted to pick this game because it's hard for me to believe they're going to lose.
Hey, look. Don't do it.
Don't you do it.
Stay away from Cowboys games.
Stay away from the kids. He hates these kids.
They drive me crazy. I'm nope.
Gentlemen, what are you going with?
Funny thing, real quick. Bellarmine had their media day.
Okay.
The other day, and one of the kids on their team, his dad is a beat writer for the Cowboys. And he was literally trying to. I gave it to him. He's a sweet kid. He's really trying to convince me to not be as apprehensive as I am when it comes to Dallas. I was like, look, I've been watching this longer than you've been alive.
You're thinking yourself, foolish child. No doubt of what you speak.
Right. Foolish child.
You know not of what you speak. All right. Notre Dame, Navy, Texas, Vanderbilt, Illinois, Oregon, Eagles, Bengals, Cowboys, 49ers. Charlie Ward, what are you doing this week in your I Believe game?
I'm going to go with Texas on the rebound. I know it's a tricky game.
On the rebound. Ooh.
And Vanderbilt has beaten Alabama, I think, at home.
Mm-hmm.
They were the number one team.
Yeah. The goalpost out of the road.
And walked down the street.
And they've had a solid year, but I think Texas should rebound. It would be a tough game, but they should rebound.
It's hard to find lightning in a bottle twice, isn't it? I just can't imagine.
They could be a team of destiny.
Oh man!
But shout out to the SEC because I love down in the SEC because it get on my nerves. But man, this conference is so good this year.
Listen, legitimately this year you could say the SEC is the best conference. In other years you can't say that, but this year you can say, "Oh yeah, this is far and away." Oh man, go ahead, Kendrick, because that's an interesting one to pick right there.
I'm gonna go what I think is gonna be a layup.
Okay,
which is Oregon at home against Illinois. I'm going with Oregon. They're tough at home. They already beat Ohio State at home,
right?
And so I'm gonna go with the Ducks.
Feels like a layup, but
it feels like it, but.
It's nothing like a motivated team, man.
And this college football season has been crazy.
It's been wild. It has been wild.
The way we got here has been suspect with NIL and transfer portal and conference realignment has been weird, but the end product has been
phenomenal.
Football.
It's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal.
Don't you touch that Cowboys game.
No, God no. Listen. There's a comedy element to what we do here. That was all for comedy. I'm not touching that game. But I'm gonna tell you something. I am very tempted to believe in the Vanderbilt again. I'm very tempted. I'm very tempted. I just
Well, it won't hurt you. So
Yeah, it doesn't hurt you, right? The Notre Dame Navy is interesting to me as well because
That's a weird game, though.
that's a weird game, and it feels like Navy. Because here's one thing that Notre Dame can't do: they can't out physical Navy. Navy is the armed services teams are the most in shape teams in college sports. Listen, with all due respect to Travis Hunter, doing amazing things on the football field. He's not more in shape than Army Navy teams. Sorry, Travis. Call me back when you're up at 5 a.m. doing what most people do all day. So nobody's picked a pro game yet. That Eagles Bengals.
That's
Right,
a
I
tough
put that
one.
on there. That's a tough one too. I think I'm gonna go. Man, I think I'm gonna go Vanderbilt. I think I'm going Vanderbilt. I'm gonna put my faith in the Vandies and see what happens. So
Hey,
Charlie, one of us is gonna be right, the other's gonna be wrong.
more power to you. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna look. If they lose, you're gonna look back and say, "I just trusted Vanderbilt."
It sounds weird.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would not be surprised if they pulled it off again. I wish that game was at night.
Well, here's the thing that makes me think they can pull it off. They just stifled a running quarterback in Milroe. They're not gonna have them problems against Quinn Ewers. Now, the question is, how long is Quinn Ewers gonna play? Because I can easily see them switching over to Arch Manning.
I don't think they will.
In
I
that
think
game.
they're not doing that again.
they're not going to do that. I think,
No.
and I think Alabama.
Every time y'all say
Texas
that,
has
it
a
happens.
Texas has a better offense than Alabama too.
Okay.
Yeah. Texas, to me, in the Georgia game, got sideways early on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and they weren't able to recover from that portion of the game. Because in the second half, it was more like what we expected.
Yeah.
So if you eliminate, which is, I mean, it's hard. I'm just using this. If you eliminate the first half, like the first quarter, let's just say the first quarter, the game was relatively competitive.
Yeah, it was relatively even.
Yeah. And so I just think Georgia did what Alabama did to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They got a cushion, and unfortunately, Georgia didn't allow Texas to come back like Alabama did, you know, for Georgia. But it was a very similar game where they got a cushion, and when you have two competitive teams that are very much alike, that cushion can help you, you know, moving forward. And so that's why even when I'm coaching, telling my guys, I'm like, hey man, when we're playing against good quality teams just like us, we can't allow them to get a 10-point cushion at any point in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, that gives them that momentum, that leg up to now where we have to try to fight back. And if
use a lot of energy fighting back.
Exactly. And then you come up short because all they need to do down the stretch is make a few plays here and there, make a few plays here and there. And then next thing you know, you end up losing by 6 or 7 points. And
I think Vanderbilt's got to come out the gate early and try
you got to hit them in the mouth
early. If they can do that, it could get interesting. But if Vanderbilt's having to play from behind, I think they don't have a shot. But it'll be interesting to see. This is the kind of game because see, the one thing that Vanderbilt has never had going into any of these games, probably in the history of Vanderbilt, is belief. And now they have it. And so belief is a powerful thing, especially when you got thousands of people doing it all at the same time. So I'm curious to see what this game becomes. Okay. Want to give a couple of shout outs collectively because we do that. Sometimes we go ahead and give a shout out to everybody collectively. And I'm going to steal Charlie's thunder a little bit here. even though I hated the final call with Breonna Stewart, I hated it. That was not a foul.
And
I hated it.
She crip walked before.
And by the way, nobody's even talking about the fact that she walked a country mile before she ever even got to that play. Still, you got to give credit where credit is due. As bad as Sabrina Ionescu played, as bad as Breonna Stewart played, for them to have won that game, shout out to Sabali, who was amazing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to somebody who's one of my favorite players, Jonquel Jones, who played fantastically as well. They found a way, and that's what great teams do. They find a way. And so the original franchise, the first of the first, New York Liberty, we give them a collective shout out.
And speaking of that
brings us to the humble flex. I feel as though, I'm just saying.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
You guys are just going to have to trust us because in the group chat, it just felt very humble flexes. It felt.
What I do?
You don't want that, Charlie. Don't make us read the receipts, Charlie. Don't make us read the receipts, Charlie.
What are you talking about?
we warned you during the conversation.
We have the receipts, Charlie. We have it. I think you know what you did, but it's fine.
I don't remember.
Because we said we were going to discuss this. We did.
I'm totally like.
You're totally lost. You just confused at this moment.
Hey, see, Charlie continuously proves that he's one of the funniest men in America. And it's totally on accident.
Amazing.
It's on accident. It's not on purpose.
How did I get a humble flex? What did I say?
We told you that day.
He said, well, I was hoping Kayla would get a championship ring, but happy for the Liberty since I was there for the original Liberty team.
Which was finals first. At finals first.
It was a phenomenal comment all the way up to I was there.
But we would have let it slide the first time. But you said it again.
You doubled down. If you had to double down, we'd probably let you slide. But you doubled down. So it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's true.
That's what makes it a humble flex. It's the authenticity of the statement is what makes it a humble flex, Charlie.
That's right up there with Al.
I love it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But again, shout out to the Liberty. I'm so happy for Teresa Witherspoon and Kim Hampton, Louisville's own Kim Hampton. Just so many great players who have been waiting for this moment. Who called the game? Rebecca Lobo. I'm surprised she was able to contain her emotions the way that she did. She is a true professional. Because I'm sure that meant a lot to her.
At her craft. I mean, look at all the UConn games. She's got plenty of practice in being able to control herself.
But UConn games, they're used to winning. Like the Liberty have been waiting on this a long time.
And shout out to Rebecca Lobo. I got a chance to meet her when Louisville played up there at UConn back when Aisha Durr was at U of L. And so I followed them up there, went with the team or whatever. And it was one of the coolest moments ever. I'm standing they have a hallway that has all the pictures of all the greats. And I'm just standing there just in all of it, looking at it. And she just happens to walk by and she looks and she says, when I went here, this wall was white.
What a great line.
Which is a humble flex in itself.
Right.
But like she is
because she technically kicked it off.
Yeah.
Her group kicked it off.
Yeah. And so as far as people that you meet that, because I always was a big fan of hers anyway. And for her to live up to be as nice as could possibly be, Rebecca Lobo is right up there as one of the nicest people I've met that's a legend in their game.
By the way, UConn basketball could be the reason why they're not in the ACC right now.
Yeah, because they don't want that smoke.
Exactly. Exactly. They don't want any parts of this contract that everybody else having to deal with. So they're probably like, we're good. We'll wait you out. We'll call us in 2020. When do y'all get out of the contract? 2030. So that could be very, very.
It should be. It could be 2027.
Well, this 1 and 5 start y'all off to kind of put a damper on that.
That doesn't discredit the numbers or the contract.
I know, but it's just fun to mess with you, Charlie.
I'm gonna go ahead and get my humble flex out real quick. Not humble flex, but my shout out real quick.
Did.
No, that was for everybody. That's like the show shout out.
Oh,
because Charlie was gonna do it anyway.
Because he was there.
That was my reason for giving him the humble flex too. Just real quick too. Whatever you think of LeBron James, whether you love him, you hate him, whatever, watching him check in a basketball game with his son was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in sports. That was
cool, and I keep seeing people hate on it. You know, I'm not a LeBron fan at all.
Right.
But it was really cool to see them check in at the same time.
You can hate him all you want, but you can't tell me being able to play with your child.
And it was awesome seeing the Griffies there.
Yeah,
it was an awesome moment.
And then my last shout out is to Steve Ballmer. Think what you want to think about him as well.
That arena is insane.
Oh my god! Oh my god, that thing is amazing. That thing is amazing. I want to go to a Clippers game, and I don't care if the Clippers get blown out by 50. I just want to sit in that arena and
you
enjoy.
Better cheer because they're monitoring that.
That's weird too.
That part is a little bit
We'll talk about that on another day, but that's a weird thing too. Like, why is my chair being monitored for my enthusiasm? I don't but
so
talk about that thing is amazing.
If you don't cheer, you get replaced.
I know you get you get rewarded for the more you cheer, but if you don't cheer much, I don't know what the repercussions are for that.
I was gonna say there are consequences. That would be an interesting marketing strategy.
You better come here and cheer.
Be ejected out of your seat if you don't cheer.
But that ribbon around the arena and oh man, it's
the 360 view. Man, that thing is. They did nothing wrong in this stadium. I got to give them credit.
It's one of the things I'm realizing as I'm getting old, and I notice I'm getting old, is I watch CBS This Morning every Sunday. Yeah. Nothing says old like watching that every Sunday.
Absolutely.
And so they had him on, and he gave a tour of the arena on CBS, and that arena
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
So I'm happy for them what he built, and I'm also happy.
Hey, what ward is that walking back there?
Huh?
Which ward just walked behind you, Charlie?
Did a ward just walk by?
It was a boy that walked by. What are your boy?
Shout out to Caleb.
Shout out to Caleb.
Shout out to Caleb.
Shout out.
Now, you know I see everything.
I didn't see. I had my head down. So I'm happy for them what they have, but I'm also happy they finally have them out of our building.
Oh wow!
Laker fans have been wanting them out of our building forever. Now we didn't want them to go to a better building.
There goes Caleb.
There he is. That was fantastic, by the way. Also, okay, that's my shout outs. Charlie, who you got?
Well, I'm going to shout out. Of course, it needs some good Seminole news. So I'm going to shout out my man Jamie Connell. I think it's his name. He became a singles co-champion at the ITA Southeast Regional Championships on Saturday. So shout out to my man Jamie Connell, who's one of the tennis players here at Florida State. Giving us some good positive news.
National champion?
No, he's a regional champion.
Okay. All right.
Not national, but
that's a Seminole love.
All right, we'll take it. We'll take it, Charlie. We'll take it. Listen, we know where you are right now. So listen.
Yeah.
Get what you need to get out of this moment.
Yeah.
And also shout out to the champions who dismantled my Knicks in their first game after they got their
and usually at those ring ceremonies, the team comes out distracted and plays terribly. That did not happen the other night.
I'm gonna say this. Charlie, I'm gonna say this. I don't think that the Celtics are 30 points better than them in April, but they for sure were 30 points better than them in October. Which, by the way, they should be. More continuity, no turnover. I mean, I get it. I get. I get the win.
You think?
Like I said, I get the win. The shooting was insane. That was insane.
Didn't they set the record for most threes in the game?
They tied it. 29. Yeah, they tied it.
Yeah, they had like 17 of those in the first half.
Yeah, a team comes out hit threes like that. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you just got to shake their hand and be like, okay.
All right, we'll see you
next time.
In the garden. Charlie's going through it over there. You can see it on his face.
It's been a rough October for him. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a rough October.
All right, I'm gonna give my shout outs real quick. First, shout out to Pat Kelsey and Louisville men's basketball team. Looked great in their first exhibition game. Don't want to put too much into it because it is an exhibition game, but they did come out and I forgot the number, but they made like 20.
I have the number 24 of 52 or 56.
Yeah, 3 points.
From three. 56 threes seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot. They're not going to do that all the time. He did say that, but he's not. He said, it's just how the offense flowed. The team they were playing were packing it in inside because Louisville was bigger than them, so they was kind of giving them the three and never really adjusted to it because it wasn't like they was just coming down, just jacking them up. They were working offense to get the three. So shout out to them. And then lastly, shout out to one of my favorite interns of all time, Jada Curry. Today's U of L Women's Basketball Media Day, and she is going to have her be my reporter for the day. So I'm giving her the microphone, and she's going to go around and interview her teammates in the most Jada way possible. She asked me, she's like, do you want me to ask serious questions? I was like, I don't want you to be straight Jada. And so it's going to be because Jada is one of the funniest people I've ever met. And all of her teammates and her coaches, whenever I talk to them, they're like, this is Jada 24 hours a day. And so I can't wait for that. So that's going to be fun. So shout out to Jada because I know she's going to do a good job with that.
And Charlie, this is for you.
And that was a humble flex.
You have to keep things balanced.
How you get a shot?
No. That wasn't for you in the sense of I humble flex.
You humble flexing me.
I'm humble flexing Kendrick because my intern, Jada Kerr, my intern. Come on,
Charlie. Apparently on this show, you can't know people.
First of all, I take no offense to that because I got humble flex last week for knowing Kim Hampton. So
no, it was the way you presented it. You know that.
Exactly, it was the way you presented
her with me this summer.
It was. I waited, but you didn't flex it though. You just said she
I was giving her all the props though. That was totally unwarranted.
We may need to
filing a petition.
Well, we'll take it up with the committee and we'll see how it works out. So there you go. All right, listen, another wonderful show, another fantastic show. It's gonna be a great weekend of football. A lot of great games, both pro and then basketball is back. And by the way, tomorrow
we got a week and a half more of bad college basketball before it starts for real.
Right. We ain't got the good basketball yet. That's just hold up on that. The World Series has to end first, and the World Series starts Friday, so that should be good. Got the Coastal game that we all hoped it would be, although many were rooting for a Subway Series, but I think this is better.
This is much better.
Yeah, this is much better. So it's going to be a fun weekend of sports. Everybody kick back and relax and get ready to watch it. And we'll be back next week to do it all over again. It's Kendrick Haskins. It's Charlie Ward. I'm Lloyd Smith. BLEAV in the ACC. We'll be back.
You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us